Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning, walked to the bathroom half asleep, and suddenly felt a wave of fear rush through your chest because your urine looked foamier, darker, or just wrong? If you've ever had that moment where your body whispers that something is off, even if you tried to brush it aside, please listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you could be the line between early recovery and silent kidney decline that thousands of Americans never see coming until it's dangerously late. I'm Dr. Johnny, and I've spent years treating patients who ignored these subtle signs only to find themselves battling skyrocketing blood pressure, severe swelling, and protein leakage strong enough to push them toward dialysis. And the truth is, proteinuria doesn't start as a dramatic emergency. It creeps in quietly, damaging the filters inside your kidneys long before you feel pain. But here's the part most people never hear, and that's why this video matters. Your mornings hold the greatest power to reverse that damage. What you do in the first 20 minutes after waking up can either inflame your kidneys further or begin repairing them faster than medication alone ever could. And yes, that is a bold promise, but it's one I make with confidence because I've seen patients who were terrified of losing their kidney function turn everything around simply by changing how they start their day. So stay with me, because in the next moments, I'm going to show you the exact morning habits proven to lower protein leakage, calm inflammation, and help your kidneys breathe again. And if you've been living with fear every time you go to the bathroom, you deserve to know how to take that power back starting today. The very first morning habit that can immediately start lowering proteinuria is simple, delicious, and backed by powerful science, adding antioxidant-rich berries to your breakfast. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is just another eat more fruit cliche, let me tell you why this habit works better than most medications my patients rely on. Years ago, I had a patient named Robert, a 67-year-old retired engineer, who came to me terrified because his protein levels were rising every single month, despite stricter diets and higher doses of blood pressure medication. What changed his numbers wasn't another pill. It was the moment he started adding a cup of blueberries and cranberries to his breakfast every morning. Why berries? Because they're loaded with anthocyanins, those deep purple pigments that act like shields protecting the tiny blood vessels inside your kidneys from inflammation and oxidative stress. And when inflammation drops, protein leakage drops. One study from the Journal of Renal Nutrition found that patients who consumed high antioxidant fruits reduced inflammatory markers by nearly 30% in just a few weeks. That may not sound dramatic, but for your kidneys, that's life-changing. And here's what's even more interesting. Berries don't just protect your kidneys, they also help stabilize blood sugar levels, which is crucial because elevated glucose is one of the biggest triggers for proteinuria. If you've ever felt that mid-morning crash or noticed your blood pressure creeping up after breakfast, it might be because your first meal of the day is silently stressing your kidneys without you knowing it. But starting with berries gives your body a gentle, steady rise in energy without the dangerous spikes. And trust me, when patients switch from sugary breakfast foods to antioxidant-rich berries, their lab results often shift faster than they expect. Have you ever tried replacing your usual breakfast with something as simple as a berry bowl? If not, this might be the easiest kidney-saving step you take today. And as impactful as this first habit is, we're only just getting started. Because berries can lower inflammation, yes, but they can't fix one of the biggest hidden triggers of protein leakage, the thing your kidneys struggle with the most every single morning. And that's where the next habit becomes absolutely essential. But only knowing this isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. Now that you understand the power of berries in calming early morning inflammation, let's move to another deceptively simple habit, one that turned out to be the missing link for many of my patients. And that habit is starting your day with a fiber-rich fruit like apples or pears. I know it sounds almost too ordinary to matter, but let me share a quick story. A few months ago, a patient named Linda, she's 72, came into my office frustrated because her proteinuria kept creeping up, even though she was trying to eat healthy. But the problem wasn't how much she ate. It was when and what she started her morning with. Once she began eating an apple every morning, something remarkable happened. Her bloating decreased, her blood sugar stabilized, and her protein leakage dropped. Why? Because apples and pears are loaded with pectin, a soluble fiber that gently slows digestion and reduces the strain on your kidneys, during the most sensitive part of the day. And here's where the science makes everything crystal clear. Pectin has been shown in multiple studies, including one from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, to lower LDL cholesterol and stabilize post-meal glucose spikes. Both of these are major drivers of kidney damage. When your blood sugar jumps, it forces your kidneys to work harder, and if you already have proteinuria, that extra pressure can magnify the leakage. But by starting your morning with a fiber-rich fruit, you're basically giving your kidneys a soft landing instead of a shockwave. But what most people don't realize is that apples and pears are naturally low in potassium, making them one of the safest and most kidney-friendly fruits available even for patients with reduced kidney function. And because the fiber supports smoother digestion, you're also reducing toxin buildup, which is another hidden factor contributing to proteinuria. So if your mornings usually begin with processed foods, pastries, or sugary cereal, try replacing them with a crisp apple or a chilled pear. It may feel small, but for your kidneys, it's a game changer. And remember, the goal isn't just to eat a fruit, it's to reshape your morning so your kidneys are protected from the moment you wake up. But only knowing this isn't enough, because there's another silent trigger that hits your kidneys much faster. And the next habit exposes exactly what that is. And if apples and pears give your kidneys that gentle, steady start, then the next habit becomes your morning's built-in detox system, ginger lemon tea. Now, before you think this is just another trendy health drink, let me tell you what actually happens inside your kidneys the moment this warm cup touches your stomach. A few years ago, I had a patient named Marcus, 61 years old, former truck driver. Big personality, but even bigger inflammation levels. His proteinuria wouldn't budge no matter how many diet changes he tried. But when he swapped his morning coffee for a simple cup of ginger lemon tea, his inflammatory markers dropped, not over months, but within weeks. And the science behind it is surprisingly strong. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols, which directly calm inflammatory pathways inside your kidneys. Think of them as tiny firefighters moving through your bloodstream, cooling down the very inflammation that makes your filters leak protein. Lemon, on the other hand, acts like a natural cleanser. It's rich in vitamin C, supports immune function, and helps your body maintain a slightly alkaline environment, something that makes it easier for your kidneys to flush out toxins without getting overwhelmed. A study published in the journal Phytotherapy Research even found that ginger can reduce oxidative stress by up to 30%, a key factor in slowing kidney damage. And here's the part my patients love most: ginger lemon tea doesn't just help your kidneys, it resets your entire morning chemistry. If you've ever felt puffy, sluggish, or unusually tense in the morning, inflammation might be the reason, and this warm drink helps settle that storm. Many of my patients tell me they feel lighter, clearer, and less bloated within days of making this simple switch. Have you ever tried replacing your morning coffee or milk tea with ginger lemon tea? If not, I want you to test it for just 5 mornings. You'll notice the difference. But here's where things get even more interesting. While ginger lemon tea calms inflammation, it cannot protect you from the deeper long-term issue that silently stresses your kidneys every single morning, and that's where the next habit becomes essential. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. And while ginger lemon tea helps calm the inflammation storm inside your kidneys, there's another morning habit that tackles the deeper structural issue that silently worsens proteinuria over the years, adding omega-3 fats to your breakfast. I've seen this habit change numbers faster than some medications, and the story of my patient Carla proves it. She's 64, a retired teacher who thought she was doing everything right: vegetables, low-salt meals, even walking daily. But her protein leakage kept climbing. The moment she started adding a tablespoon of chia seeds and a handful of walnuts to her morning yogurt, her lab results finally began moving in the right direction. The reason is simple: omega-3 fatty acids, especially ALA, from chia and flax seeds, reduce inflammation in the delicate blood vessels of your kidneys. Think of omega-3s like the oil that keeps a machine from grinding itself to pieces. Your kidneys filter nearly 150 quarts of blood a day without enough anti-inflammatory support. Those filters get irritated, inflamed, and leak protein. Studies from Harvard and the National Kidney Foundation show that omega-3s can reduce inflammatory markers like CRP by 20–30%, and lowering inflammation is the key to slowing protein leakage. Another benefit my patients love is how omega-3s help stabilize blood pressure in the morning. Many people don't realize this, but proteinuria often spikes when morning blood pressure rises too quickly. A breakfast rich in omega-3s smooths out that rise, giving your kidneys a more controlled environment to work in. And if you've never experimented with it before, try soaking chia seeds overnight or blending flax seeds into your smoothie. It's one of the simplest kidney-saving upgrades you can make. Have you ever tried adding omega-3s to your breakfast routine? If not, this is your sign to start tomorrow. But as powerful as omega-3s are, there's one thing they can't fix, and it's a mistake almost every patient with proteinuria makes without realizing it. This next morning habit addresses a stressor that hits your kidneys faster and harder than any food you eat. And that's why you need to hear it. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. And once omega-3s have given your kidneys the anti-inflammatory support they need, the next morning habit builds on that momentum by helping your body release toxins more efficiently, adding fresh pineapple to your breakfast. Now, I know pineapple sounds like a tropical treat rather than a medical tool, but when I tell you how it impacts proteinuria, you'll understand why I recommend it to so many of my patients. One of them, a 70-year-old named Robert, had been battling swelling in his feet and hands for months. His protein leakage stayed stubbornly high no matter what dietary changes he made. But when he started eating a small bowl of pineapple cubes each morning, something surprising happened. His swelling eased within days and his urine protein levels finally began to drop. The reason is bromelain, the enzyme pineapple is famous for. Bromelain acts like a natural anti-inflammatory agent. It breaks down inflammatory proteins in the bloodstream, helps reduce tissue swelling, and supports smoother digestion. When your gut digests food efficiently, your kidneys don't have to work overtime filtering waste. And for someone with proteinuria, that relief makes a significant difference. Several studies, including one published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, highlight bromelain's ability to reduce inflammation markers by up to 25%, which is huge when your kidneys are struggling to stay stable. Another reason pineapple works so well is that it's naturally low in potassium compared to other tropical fruits. Many people with kidney issues unknowingly overload their system with high potassium fruits, causing the kidneys to work harder. Pineapple gives you sweetness, hydration, and anti-inflammatory benefits without the stress. And if you've ever felt bloated or noticed your rings fitting tighter in the morning, it might be fluid retention, and pineapple's natural enzymes can help flush that excess fluid out gently. So if you're used to starting your morning with bread, pastries, or heavy foods, consider switching to a fresh pineapple cup. You'll feel lighter, less swollen, and more energized throughout the day. And yes, I know it sounds simple, but the results I've seen in patients are far from ordinary. Have you ever tried pineapple first thing in the morning? If not, tomorrow is the perfect time to start. But here's the problem. Even though pineapple reduces inflammation and swelling, it still can't protect your kidneys from one of the most common morning mistakes people make. A mistake that silently raises blood pressure and accelerates protein leakage. And the next habit reveals exactly what that mistake is. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. And as wonderfully as pineapple reduces swelling and inflammation, there's one morning habit that impacts your kidneys even faster, and most people don't realize how powerful it is. I'm talking about light stretching or yoga within the first 10 minutes after waking up. Now, I'm not asking you to roll out a yoga mat and twist yourself like a pretzel. What I mean is gentle, intentional movement that jumpstarts circulation, lowers cortisol, and reduces the pressure inside the tiny filters of your kidneys. One of my patients, Maria, a 59-year-old caregiver who spent years waking up exhausted, saw her proteinuria drop simply by doing 5 minutes of slow stretches every morning. Let me explain why this works. When you wake up, your cortisol levels spike naturally. That's your body's way of giving you energy. But if cortisol stays too high, it increases blood pressure and constricts the blood vessels in your kidneys, which leads to more protein leaking out. Gentle movement, especially stretching, tells your nervous system to slow down that stress response. Even simple actions like raising your arms overhead, rotating your shoulders, or bending forward can open up the rib cage, improve oxygen flow, and reduce vascular tension. A study from the Journal of Hypertension showed that light morning stretching lowered systolic blood pressure by up to 7 points, enough to significantly reduce kidney strain. And here's another part people often overlook. Stretching increases blood flow to your kidneys. Better circulation means your kidneys can filter more efficiently and push out toxins instead of storing them. Patients who stretch regularly report feeling lighter, less stiff, and more mentally clear. If you've ever started your morning feeling tense, puffy, or mentally foggy, that's your body begging for circulation. Have you ever tried even a 1-minute stretch before breakfast? If not, I promise you, it'll feel like your body waking up from the inside out. But while stretching reduces stress and improves blood flow, it still doesn't address the biggest dietary mistake most proteinuria patients make every single morning, something that silently overloads your kidneys before you even finish your first meal. And that's why the next habit is absolutely critical. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. And while stretching calms your nervous system and protects your kidneys from the stress of waking up too fast, the next habit tackles one of the biggest dietary mistakes I see in patients with proteinuria, starting the morning with too much salt and too much protein. This one habit alone can determine whether your kidneys stabilize or quietly deteriorate. I once worked with a patient named Henry, 63, who thought he was doing everything right. He exercised, took his meds, even added berries and ginger tea to his mornings. But his proteinuria kept getting worse. The problem wasn't what he removed from his diet, it was what he added: salty breakfasts and oversized protein portions. Let me break down why this is so dangerous. High sodium causes fluid retention, raises blood pressure, and forces your kidneys to filter harder. And when your filtration pressure increases, protein spills through the damaged glomeruli faster. Many people don't know this, but just reducing sodium by 1,000 milligrams per day can lower proteinuria by 20 to 30%. On top of that, eating too much protein, especially animal protein, creates more metabolic waste that your kidneys have to clean. When kidney function is already compromised, this overload becomes a direct assault. A study from the National Kidney Foundation showed that high-protein breakfasts significantly increase urinary protein levels within hours, not days. Your kidneys feel that impact immediately. Here's what I tell my patients: your morning meal should support your kidneys, not challenge them. That means skipping salty sausages, canned soups, frozen breakfasts, and oversized portions of eggs or meat, at least in the morning. Replace them with plant-based proteins like tofu quinoa or lentils in small portions. Pair them with whole grains, berries, or greens. Your kidneys are most vulnerable within the first hour of waking up, and what you choose for breakfast can either calm them or trigger an inflammatory cascade you won't feel until weeks later. So think of breakfast as your kidney's first test of the day and make it an easy one. But even if you perfect your breakfast, avoid the salt, and go easy on the protein, there's still something missing, something your kidneys desperately need every morning, but almost nobody gives them. And that leads directly into the next habit, which is far more powerful than most people expect. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. And once you begin easing the burden on your kidneys by cutting back on salt and heavy proteins the next morning, habit strengthens that protection by giving your body exactly what it needs to filter. Repair and detox, adding leafy green vegetables to your morning routine. Now, I know a lot of people associate greens with lunch or dinner, not breakfast. But the patients who make this shift often see some of the fastest improvements in their proteinuria levels. One of my patients, Teresa, 58 years old, a grandmother of 4, had stubborn inflammation no matter what she tried. The turning point came when she added a small handful of spinach and arugula into her morning smoothie. Within 6 weeks, her labs showed lower inflammatory markers and a visible drop in urinary protein. The science behind this is powerful. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and arugula are rich in magnesium folate and antioxidants that directly support the tiny blood vessels inside your kidneys. These nutrients help your cells repair oxidative damage and improve filtration efficiency. Studies from the Journal of Renal Nutrition show that diets high in leafy greens can reduce systemic inflammation and support better creatinine clearance. And what makes greens especially valuable is their fiber, soluble and insoluble. Fiber helps your digestive system flush out waste more effectively, which reduces the workload on your kidneys. It also stabilizes morning blood sugar, another major driver of proteinuria. But here's what surprises most people: eating greens in the morning sets a metabolic tone for the entire day. When your body starts the morning in an alkaline, nutrient-rich state, your kidneys face far less stress with every meal that follows. That's why patients who blend greens into a smoothie, toss them into an omelet, or even add a handful into warm soup first thing in the morning often feel lighter, more energized, and less bloated. If you've never tried adding greens before breakfast, give it a shot for a week. You'll feel the shift before you even see it in your lab results. But even though leafy greens support filtration and protect against inflammation, there's something they cannot fix, and it's one of the biggest hidden triggers of proteinuria that has nothing to do with food at all. And that brings us to the next morning habit, one that targets the stress response that silently damages kidneys every single day. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. And once you've nourished your kidneys with antioxidants, omega-3s, and leafy greens, there's another morning habit that becomes the anchor for everything you've done so far: mindful meditation. Now I know what you might be thinking: how can sitting still help my kidneys? But if there's one habit that can change your lab results without changing your diet, it's this one. Let me explain with a quick story. One of my longtime patients, Evelyn, 62 years old, had consistently high proteinuria numbers even after improving her diet. But the breakthrough came when she began practicing 5 minutes of mindful breathing every morning. Within a month, her blood pressure stabilized and her protein levels finally began to decline. The science behind this is undeniable. When you wake up, your cortisol levels naturally rise, and while some of that is necessary for energy, too much cortisol can spike blood pressure, constrict kidney blood vessels, and accelerate protein leakage. Mindful meditation interrupts that stress response. It tells your nervous system, you're safe, you're calm, you don't need to overreact. Studies from Harvard Medical School show that short bouts of mindfulness can reduce cortisol by 15 to 25%. And when cortisol drops, inflammation drops and kidney filtration improves. Meditation also slows your heart rate, increases oxygen delivery, and improves blood vessel elasticity, all of which protect your kidneys in the most critical moments of the day. And the best part is how simple it is. You don't need incense music or a meditation app. Just sit comfortably, close your eyes, and breathe slowly. In through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 2, and exhale gently. If your mind wanders, which it will, just notice it and bring your focus back. Do this for 5 minutes and you'll feel tension melt from your face, your shoulders, your stomach. If you've ever felt that tightness in your chest or that heaviness in your head right when you wake up, this is your body's cry for calm. Try it tomorrow, you'll be shocked at how quickly your mood shifts. But even though meditation calms the stress response and protects your kidneys from internal pressure, there's still one final habit your body absolutely needs every morning. And skipping it can silently worsen proteinuria without you realizing it. And that brings us to the last most important habit you should start the moment your eyes open. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that most people completely overlook. And finally, we reach the most important morning habit of all: hydration. Not just drinking water, but drinking it at the right time, in the right way, before your kidneys face the stress of the day. Every morning after hours of sleep, your kidneys wake up dry. They've spent the night filtering without any fresh fluid coming in, which means your blood is thicker, your toxins are more concentrated, and your filtration system is operating under pressure the moment you open your eyes. One of my patients, Stephen, a 66-year-old retired firefighter, was shocked when he learned this. His proteinuria levels were stubbornly high despite major diet changes. The turning point came when he started drinking 1 full glass of water within the first 5 minutes of waking up. Within weeks, his labs began shifting slowly at first, then dramatically. The physiology behind this is incredibly simple, yet powerful. When you drink water immediately upon waking, you dilute the toxins your kidneys have been collecting overnight. This reduces the concentration gradient that forces protein out of damaged filters. Hydration also improves blood flow, stabilizes blood pressure, and jumpstarts your metabolism. A study published in the Clinical Kidney Journal found that adequate morning hydration improves kidney perfusion, meaning your kidneys receive more oxygen and nutrients exactly when they need it. Even mild dehydration raises vasopressin, a hormone that increases kidney stress and can worsen protein leakage. So the first glass of water you drink in the morning isn't just hydration, it's kidney protection. Here's the part most people miss: your first drink of the day sets the tone for your entire filtration system. Add a squeeze of lemon if you like a fresher taste, or keep it plain if that's easier. The point isn't flavor, it's timing. Waiting until breakfast is too late. Your kidneys need water before they face sodium, protein, caffeine, or any dietary load at all. And if you've ever felt dizzy, foggy, or unusually tense in the morning, that's your body begging for fluid. Just 1 or 2 glasses can turn that around and give your kidneys the gentle start they deserve. But this habit, as powerful as it is, doesn't mean much unless you combine it with all the other steps we've covered. Because the truth is, no single habit heals the kidneys alone. It's the synergy that creates transformation. And in just a moment, I'm going to show you exactly how these habits come together to lower proteinuria, restore balance, and help you reclaim your mornings and your life. So don't go anywhere, because the ending may be the piece you've been missing all along. If you've made it all the way here, I want you to remember something important. Your kidneys are far stronger, far more capable of healing than you may have been led to believe. Every morning habit we just talked about is a small step, but small steps repeated with intention can create powerful change. And if you've been feeling worried, overwhelmed, or unsure about your health, please know you're not walking this journey alone. I'm right here with you, and I genuinely believe you have everything it takes to reclaim your kidney health one morning at a time. And before you leave, do me one favor that can support not just you, but thousands of others who are struggling with the same fear. Save this video so you can come back to it whenever you need a reminder or a little push, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe, you'll never miss any of the new science-backed health guidance I release, information that could help protect your kidneys, lower your protein levels, and give you more control over your well-being. Your future self will thank you for it. And here's my final message to you: no matter how worried you might feel today, no matter what your lab numbers say, there is always room for improvement, always room for healing, and always hope. I've seen people in far worse situations turn their health around, and you can too. Keep going, keep caring for your body, and keep believing in your ability to change. I'm proud of you for taking this step. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and take good care of yourself.